Alrighty, so I'm back here on the Vermilion, the label podcast series on female empowerment. I'm joined by Genevieve today, who you also may know as CLERC. Hello, how are you going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. How have you been?
Yeah. Surprisingly busy during quarantine. I really thought I'd have nothing to do, but I have more to do somehow. So
Yeah, what have you been doing?
Lots of uni work and then lots of work on promoting my own music and stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of new things that I've never done before, thanks to Vermilion giving me an actual plan.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Have you developed any crazy new hobbies?
Oh, I got Animal Crossing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that counts as a hobby, but that took up like a solid 2 weeks of my life.
Look,
So
I'm not the only one. I know a couple people who are guilty of the Animal Crossing train, but it's quite addictive from what I've seen. Yeah.
Like, surprisingly, I thought that I would get bored after a while, but you can just keep
It
going.
keeps going. It keeps building. It gets better and better. So how are you holding up through all of this? Like, are you okay? Are you loving it? Are you hating it?
I'm good now. At first, it was a huge shock to my system. This year I had so much like planned, and especially in the live music scene, I was really going to get involved in that, but that's gone kaput. So that was like a huge shock to my system. I needed some time to deal with that. But now, I'm good. It feels normal now, I think.
Yeah, it does.
Just sort of adapted.
Yeah. And I think that we do sort of just like adapt to the situation we're in. And with the live music thing, like, you're not the only one. Like, so many of the previous acts I've talked to in the podcast, this was like their year to do the whole live music thing.
Exactly.
At least everyone's in the same boat,
Yeah, it's not like anybody's going to be like left behind. We're all sort of on pause together.
Exactly. It's not like somebody's getting ahead of you. So that's anyway, you're all in this together. So what's the first thing you're going to do when the world gets back to normal?
Oh my God. Probably go to the movies. I really miss the movies.
I really miss the movies.
All I want to do is sit in a dark room and watch a new movie that I haven't seen.
Where's my popcorn at? Like, it's not the same. Like, you can watch the movies at home, but it's not novel, it's not the same.
Hopefully they'll just be out as soon as we can get out.
I'm sure they will. They'll have lines out the door. So let's talk about your music career. So how long have you been serious in the industry for? Like, when did you know music was your gig?
Well, I was brought up, I'm one of 8 children. I have a very big family, and all of us are musically inclined somehow. Yeah. So I've always been surrounded by music, but I feel like that almost made me not like it.
Yeah.
Like growing up. To me, music was just like singing at church, and I thought that was boring as hell. But then, I got into high school, and my high school had a really, really good like music, whatever the word is, music area.
Yeah.
And I realized that music is like so much more than what I had known. And I think I wrote my first song seriously when I was about 14. And I received really good feedback on it, and so many people liked it, and I was like, oh, okay, well, this is cool. And then
it's gonna work.
Yeah, so I've been writing ever since then, and had, ins and outs of the industry, but this is like the first time I've truly committed to a brand. And
that's like a big step, to like define all of the past like years you've had in music into like, one artist name and one style. Like, was that really hard to establish the direction you were going to go in with your music?
Yeah, it was honestly kind of scary because I have like huge FOMO, and so I'm like, if I pick this name, what am I going to miss out on this? Or if I pick this genre or this image of myself, then what about all of the other ones that I've got?
No, I totally get that.
But now it just sort of feels right. And that's when I knew that it was time to commit, I think.
Yeah, cool. So, going like further down the track now to where we are now, is there anything that you've found surprisingly difficult about being a solo female artist in Brisbane?
It's difficult, I think. I mean, a lot of people, I think, and it's usually men, unfortunately, that like to argue that the industry is flooded by women. But that might just be the faces, the big faces like Taylor Swift, Katy Perry, all that sort of stuff. But behind them, there's no women in their team.
No.
There's nothing. They're just the face. They're just the icon that people will go to. And it's kind of unfortunate. And I found in my own experience, even just in like the smaller Brisbane area, it is flooded by men. And some of them are talented and, are worthy of their praise, but some of them are not. And they're not very nice, unfortunately. But because they have, a good name with all the other people, it's like you can't really speak out against them or they'll ruin your career.
What a great situation to be in. So do you feel like you're like a victim of that? Do you feel overwhelmed by the pressure of the male domination in the industry?
Well, funnily enough, on my creative team, one of my friends, Blake, who's actually the lead guitarist for Allura, we kind of all link in.
I love that.
He's on my creative team with me, and when we were doing some live gigs, he would play with me. So it's, I had worked with a couple other people in the past, and of course they were all guys, and they all treated me like kind of crappy.
Yeah,
unfortunately. And it can be quite overwhelming, especially, I mean, luckily Blake is such a lovely person and he's not like any of them at all. And in fact, he actually got me out of a really like difficult position I was in with another guy in the industry before. And it was him that sort of opened my eyes to, hey, you don't have to be treated like this. And I was like, oh, you're right. I don't have to be treated like that.
You're right.
Which is why I keep him around. But you really can just feel alone, even though you aren't. But it's sort of like you just can be put in a situation where you just feel trapped, and you feel like you're asking for help, but you're really not telling anybody about the situation you're in because you're scared of what those people will say.
And you're so right. Like it's even though the music industry is overly crowded, it is such a lonely road. Like everyone's like story and where they want to go is totally different from one another. And when you do find one person who has that little bit more experience, and you feel like you have to latch onto them because everyone's build connections, get people who know what they're doing, and then before you know it, you're around some really toxic people, and it's not a fun road to be down on. So do you feel like you've like along with that sort of pressure, is there pressure to look a certain way as well, like in your artist image?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not a thin person by any means, and I never have been. And I don't know if anybody actually like projects this onto me, but I definitely feel it, whether it's just my internal demons or whatever. But like you look around in the industry, and even in the local industry, all of the big successful women especially are gorgeous, stereotypical, like the model-esque sort of thing. And I'm very far from that. So I often feel like before I can ever get successful, before anybody will want to look at me or anybody will want to sign me, I'll have to look that certain way. No one said that to me directly, but you kind of get that. You just get that vibe.
Yeah, and even if you look at who is famous, like the two names that come to my head, Ariana Grande and Dua Lipa. Like look at them both; they're both model-esque, as you said. Exactly. But insane, like it is quite unfair because you picture like the Brisbane bands that we know and all the men in them, and they all look, not cookie cutter, but there is no cookie cutter for a dude, is there? Like they all look completely different from one another. So
exactly.
that's something you're gonna feel for a long time, do you think?
Hopefully not. I think we're sort of, as a society, shifting in a better direction. There's still, a bit of a majority of people, feeling that stereotypical way is the way to go.
Yeah.
But I feel like now the louder voice, at least in my circles, is the opposite. And it's saying it doesn't matter what you look like. It's
Yeah.
and in the music industry, it matters what you sound like and who you are as a person. If you're a lovely person and you connect with your audience and you create good music, like, what's stopping you? It doesn't matter.
That's true. And people, like, it is like a lot on rep. Like, somebody could be really hard to work with, and some managers told another manager. And so I guess, as you were saying, if you're a good person and you're good to deal with, then you might get further.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in a smaller industry, I think.
Yeah. So spinning it around in another direction. So you're involved in the QT Guild, I believe, and you're the Creative Industries Counsellor. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I am.
Tell me about that. What do you guys do?
So the guild as a whole is basically the student union. We sort of try and work as that linking bridge between the students and faculty, or higher ups and boards and stuff of QT. My position is fairly small. As a counsellor, I don't have like office hours or anything, but I'm mostly like a representative for creative industry students. And this year so far, what we've been working on is getting a stronger connection between the faculty counsellors with the faculty staff and the academic board and everything like that, so that we can have that direct contact to those people when we have issues or we have, recommendations and stuff like that, to try and make people's experience and studies at QT better.
Do you think that in a way, like, you can help females sort of in the music industry through the guild, through your sort of work? Do you think that's a direction you'd like to go in?
I mean, that was a lot of my intentions for this year. I'm also in the Creative Industry Society, like a club affiliated with the guild. And so a lot of my goal within my counsellor role and my executive role in the club was to create as many live events as possible and bring up that campus culture. And I think it would have been really valuable to do that, and even have a couple gigs that are like female artist focused.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
And the guild does so much of that stuff already. Like, they're such a wonderful group of people. Our president is a woman and she's wonderful. Our secretary is a woman. Like, we've done really well.
It's a great team you've got going on there. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, so that's what I would, and we're still sort of getting our feet, especially in the club. We're looking at doing, maybe a live streamed event rather than a physical event. So we can still try and get those ideas into fruition while we've got the months left of the year.
Yeah, that's awesome. So with like, obviously your work with the guild, you're also heavily involved in QT's record label, Vermilion Records. So tell us about your role in there.
Yeah. So as like a student wise, I help run sort of the business side of Vermilion.
Yeah.
Initially my focus was going to be on live events. Again,
Again, not happening.
It kind of sucks. But now, I mean, I got to organize a lot of awesome stuff and work with artists and the studio team as well, and just learned a lot about booking processes and correspondence and administrative stuff, which is good for an artist who's sort of self-started. You want to learn as much about.
You don't want to have to pay everyone to do everything. So
exactly. But now I've actually been doing, a video series with some artists as well.
Cool.
Just interviewing them and making videos, just asking them. It's a lot shorter than this awesome podcast.
Oh, no. Pumps on, girl. No, I'm kidding. So do you feel like with your position in Vermilion and then with the guild as well, do you feel like this gives you a really good opportunity to sort of give, younger females advice that you weren't able to get?
I mean, I'm a bit older than a lot of the people in my cohort as well. I didn't start uni till I was older. Most people started when they were like 18, so they're all babies to me.
Yeah,
But I love them. And I feel like I've been in quite a unique situation. Not just for like music advice. A lot of them have more of that than I do, but just sort of life stuff like going through certain ages. There's lots of bumps and hurdles that everyone goes through. And I've
yeah,
been like really lucky to be able to try and help those people.
yeah,
And in the guild as well, I've had a couple people come forward to me with issues in their life, especially struggling as a woman, in lots of different areas and reasons, and just being
yeah.
able to, I mean, I'm not like an old experienced
No,
soul or anything like
it's
that,
really,
but
yeah. Sometimes you need to just share what
yeah,
you've got and like the experience that you've got. So going back to like when you were young and started, is there one I guess piece of advice that you would have loved to have? One thing you wish you knew when you were starting off?
oh, um in the music industry, you're going to have to cut ties with a lot of people all the time. Or you might work on something with someone, it's not going to work out, and you're just going to have to drop that project and move on. And the sooner you do that, the sooner you cut ties with a person, or the sooner you say, actually, this project isn't working, the better.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
hold on for as long as you
don't hold
can,
it.
thinking it'll get
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
And don't feel guilty either, because it happens all the time.
yeah,
And I only really realized this in the last year, but the sooner I had realized it, I think the better my circumstances would have been.
yeah. Wow,
Um,
it's crazy.
yeah.
Also, like not only in music, but so many other aspects of life. Like
Mm.
sometimes you have to be selfish, and you have to be that selfish person to focus on what you want the project to be and which direction you want things to go. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. There's no point in going through a whole project and finishing it and releasing it, and then you hate it, and then this other person has wasted all their time on
Mhm.
something you don't like or they don't like. And there's just if you worry that you're going to offend the person by telling them that you need to move on or whatever, but just don't worry about it.
Yeah,
It
and
happens all the time.
it's obviously like being a music and being a younger artist starting off. It's like an expensive gig as well.
I mean, yeah, it's really important, especially when you're in university. I say take advantage of those free
Yeah,
gigs that you can get, and make those connections and make them strong, as long as they're a good person.
yeah,
And you gel, like once you find someone you gel with, gel hard, because
yeah,
those people are hard to find. And maybe in the future you need to talk money, but in these days where you're both gaining off of each other in a
yeah,
way,
which is
it's
great.
so valuable. Yeah.
Yeah,
So in high school, in university, in early careers, like try and find people like-minded like you in a similar stage in their
yeah.
careers, and just work with them, because
You're
it's
getting more from
really
each other, I
difficult.
guess. Like you're
Yeah.
giving each other the experience and things to add to portfolios and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and
Um,
you don't always have to exchange money for something to be
yeah.
valuable.
So talking about your single, which is
Yeah.
called Losing Myself, which is
Mm.
out on June the 4th, I believe.
Yes.
So what can we expect?
Um, well, this is the first like fully professionally studio done single I've ever done.
Wow.
Released stuff in the past, but like I've either recorded it on my phone in
Yeah.
high school, or like really cheaply done, and
Yeah.
with not a lot of production experience.
Yeah.
But this one is self-produced by myself and Blake as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it's uh it's no one's actually heard this song. Like I haven't performed it live before,
Oh, cool.
because it's a pretty personal one. So
It's
I
a
was scared
fresh
to play it
song.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll
and
happen.
I was sort of questioning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was questioning releasing a song that people hadn't heard before officially first. Like I thought maybe I should go for an old favorite, but then yeah, I don't know. I just thought, why not start with something no one's heard, and then everybody, you know, is interested in something new, whether they've heard me before or not.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think that like releasing something totally fresh and pretty vulnerable, like as you said, like the song is obviously quite close to your heart, and probably based on quite like, you know, some experiences that you've lived through and don't love to maybe like remember or whatever. It just was that really hard to release something like, do you think when you're songwriting and you have to release these singles, does it question like your vulnerability, thinking somebody is going to hear this eventually?
Yeah. It's really scary thinking like this is probably the most personal song I've ever written because I just wrote it straight from my experience during the experience. And I didn't want to show it to everyone in fear of not what people would think of me, but more what people would think of the person on the other side. Because now, you know, it's about a rough spot that I was in with my partner, you know, over a year ago now. But now, like, everything's fine. We're happy. We got through it. We worked through it together. But now I'm worried people will hear that and then they're like, oh my gosh,
oh my God, get out of there, girl. And you're like, but I think that's when like, you know, your best music is made when you're like in the moment and you're like heated with emotions and everything else. And you're like, I got to get this out somehow. But yeah, it's quite vulnerable. And
it is.
You know, you do hear some songs and you're like, whoa, that was really rough. And then somebody might be like, oh, I was eating a cake and didn't want to finish it. And then you never really know.
Yeah. One of those vulnerable songs that I always think of is Kelly Clarkson. Oh my gosh, I've just forgotten what it's called. Because of You.
Yes. Yeah.
That's like, I think about it or I listen to it, I'm like, oh my God, like, is she okay? That is the most heartbreaking, like, emotional thing I've ever heard. And like, it's such a, like, and I just think like it's so strong of her to release that. And I know so many people can relate to that. And I think that's my motivation as well, is that the position I was in, it feels unique, but probably so many people feel it and they can't express it. And so I'm hoping in, you know, releasing this song, people will find comfort in knowing that someone else has been there as well.
That's really nice. And I think people like, you know, when they do listen to songs and the lyrics, it's sort of like people will relate it to their experience. So even if it's totally different from what you were singing about, like somebody will find meaning in the lyrics and, you know, listen to it and have their, I guess, angsty moment with the song. But it's really beautiful. I like that about music, you know, whoever you are, wherever you are, you can sort of find something in it. So what, I guess, like it inspired you to do this track? Was it just the fact that you needed to get the emotions out somehow?
I mean, yeah, when I wrote this, I wrote it with the intention to show to my partner to try and express how I was feeling in that time. And I did. So he's like the only person before now that had heard it.
Wow.
And when I sat down with Vermilion and talking about what songs I wanted to record and release, they were like, why don't we do one single that will just sort of establish you as an artist separate from anything, and then later, you know, we can do an EP, which is still the plan if I can, you know, get back into the studios or record the EP at home, because we're cut short, unfortunately. But so when I was thinking like, what's a single that is separate that I can release that I won't be like, oh, that, you know, it should have gone in this EP or this album or something. This song, I feel like it just it stands alone in its not style. Like, I have the same style for a lot of things, but like in the experience and the feeling of this song, I feel like it's quite, you know, unique.
It is.
To the rest of my music, and it just deserves its own little spotlight.
It does, yeah. I like that.
I did have to talk to my partner. I was like, do you mind if I show this to the world? Because, like, I was like, you know, I feel like we've gotten to a place where it won't be weird because we're happy. And he was like, yeah, go for it. Like, it's a beautiful song.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice. And it is nice to check, like, are you going to hate me after I release this? Like, you okay?
It's like wonder when people release songs that have people's names in it. I'm like, did they talk to that person, or is this person just hearing it now on the radio? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, like I'm in this. This is me.
Yeah.
I think like I remember listening to an interview with Halsey a really long time ago, and she wrote a song about an ex, and it was quite like a dramatic song, and she like before she released it, she went to his house and was like played it, was like, this is about you. Is that okay? Because you know a lot of people are going to know. And he was like, yeah, like you know it is like the way you view that situation creatively. Oh, I'm sorry, my cat is meowing behind me.
Oh, I was wondering what that was.
He's such a loud cat. Like he's crazy. So I'm really sorry if you keep. Hi, yeah.
That's very cute.
Oh, he's so annoying. Hang on, I'm just gonna get him so he stops meowing.
Sure. No.
This is him.
Oh, he's so cute.
He's really cute. So you talked about a potential EP coming up, you know, whenever you can get back in the studios and whatever.
Yeah.
If you had to get one person to feature on the EP or collab with, who would it be?
Oh my God.
I know, it's a big question.
Like Wildest Dreams sort of thing? Or like in the Brisbane
Wildest Dreams. Think big.
Holy shit.
I know.
Oh my God, I don't even know. I mean, like one of my favorite Aussie artists is East.
Yeah.
She's wonderful, and you know, I talk to her on Instagram every now and then, like very casually.
Oh, cool.
You know, I'd love to do something with her one day.
Yeah, she's sick, and her music is so like it's like a really good time to listen to. It's nice and like, breezy and chill, and you know,
she's just like such a gorgeous person, like really down to earth, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Wildest Dreams, good God. There's so many people that I would die to do with, but that changes like every other day because I love so many.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, I would love to see like a Nicki Minaj rap on your EP, to be honest. I'd be so down for that.
That would be so funny. It would be like completely
it would be
like, go from my
totally different.
Acoustic stuff, and then Nicki Minaj is like, "What's up?
Yeah, what's up, guys?" And he'd be like, "What?"
That would be great.
Who was your favorite like artist growing up? Like when you were like 12 and going through like you know your angsty teen phase?
Avril Lavigne.
Yeah.
I loved Avril Lavigne so much, even though I probably, in hindsight, couldn't actually relate with anything she was talking about. She made me feel like I could relate to her, you know.
So much
and I think that's
passion.
like a huge skill on its own.
Yeah, well, that's awesome.
When I was like, you know, when I started writing and everything, my idol was Passenger. I actually have his lyrics tattooed on my arm.
Wow.
So, you know, I feel like he and we have like a similar style. So if we were to collab, I think that would work really well. But, you know, that's a long way away if that ever happened.
Yeah. Fingers crossed one day. Like
maybe he'll see this and he'll be like, let's go.
Like, you know what, let's do it. I love what's going on here. So what's next for you as an artist?
Well, at the moment I'm really focusing on this single and learning how to promote things and gain traction, and then keeping that traction going after it's come out. And really I just want to keep doing that. Like I love releasing music. I have huge stage fright, which is why I was going to try and work on my live event stuff. But if I could just release music for the rest of my life, I think I would be happy.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty good way to look at it. Like, you know, it's not often like, you know, you come across a career or a hobby that you're like, I could be really happy doing this for a really long time. A lot of people just settle for something very boring and they know it. So good on you. Alrighties. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for letting me have you on this podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed it.
I have, thank you.
Yeah, and if anyone else wants to check out any of our older podcasts, just check it out on Vermilion Records Facebook page or Instagram, and all the links are there. But thanks, guys.